In a glass tower lobby, a security guard forces a janitor to empty his torn bag in public, spilling his lunch and adult pads. A reception manager intervenes, pushes for a private screening, and has her badge suspended on the spot as she repacks his things and gives quiet care. The act exposes the janitor's hidden caregiving burdens and leads to small changes in the building's routine that restore a little dignity. Before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And, hey, where are you tuning in from? Leave your country in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach. The lunch bag hit the marble and split open. A rectangle of adult pads skidded across the floor and stopped against the turnstile. The guard's boot nudged the bag with the toe. Soup leaked, thin and yellow, pooling under the security desk. "Open your bag," he said, louder than he needed to. Policy. People coming through pretended not to see. A man in a grey suit stepped around the spill. Someone laughed, quick and guilty, then bit it back. The older man in the faded green uniform crouched and reached for the pads with both hands, like he could hide them by speed. His knuckles were cracked white. He did not make eye contact with anyone. The woman at the reception desk looked up and went still. She had a stack of client folders fanned like cards under her palm. Her phone faced up beside the keyboard. 8:12. A calendar square glowed in red. Morning audit, noon client tour. Her boss had texted an hour ago. No surprises. PM is already edgy. She saw the guard's tablet, the red checklist screen. She saw the older man's bag torn along the seam. She saw the pads like flags in public. She thought of the property manager's email last week. Random checks after a package incident. She thought of the way he stared at her badge when she pushed back then. "You're a tenant, not command," he had said. She thought of the partners who walked past this desk like it was furniture. She thought of the new rent on her apartment, the way a suspension would fit like a key in the door locks. She set her folders on the granite and walked toward them. "Sir," she said to the guard. "Let me." He didn't look at her at first. He was watching the turnstiles. "We check bags," he said. "Everyone." "Not on the floor," she said. "Not like this." She crouched before he could stop her and started gathering the older man's things. She lifted a dented thermos still warm. She wiped soup with the cuff of her blazer and didn't flinch. "Man," the guard said. "Open 2, please," she said to the guard without raising her voice. He frowned. "What?" "The side door," she said, nodding to the unmarked panel that connected to a small table behind the desk. "Private bag check. You have a screen." He shifted his weight. He chewed his gum harder. "We don't have staff for back of house. The memo said front is fine." "The memo said proper," she said. "Open 2. The older man tried to take his torn bag back. She steadied it with one hand. "I have a tote," she said to him. 1 second. She stood and walked to the supply closet by the conference rooms. She passed a wall of framed art that always made her think of cold water. She grabbed a spare canvas tote from a box of swag bags and a roll of tape. When she came back, the guard had lifted the pads with 2 fingers like they were dirty. He set them on the desk. People stared. The older man had stopped moving. His face had gone blank. She held the tote open. "Put them in here," she said to him, not looking at the guard. She taped the torn seam of his old bag so nothing else would fall out. She put the thermos upright again. She slid his chipped spoon into a side pocket. She worked quick, no fuss. "Ma'am, this is a secure building," the guard said, voice rising. "I have to clear it in view." She met his eyes. He deserves privacy. The property manager appeared from behind the column like he had been waiting. Tablet under his arm, shirt so crisp it creaked. He looked at the soup, then the tote, then her hands. "What is this?" he said. "Using 2, she said, taking the older man's elbow with light pressure. "Please move the screen." "You don't direct my team," the property manager said. He had a narrow smile that was not a smile. "We have procedures. He could be bringing in..." He flicked his fingers at the pads. "Anything. He's bringing lunch," she said. Her voice felt even. "And supplies. You want a secure building?" he said. "Then let my guard work." He turned to the guard. "Continue, stop," she said. Not loud, but it cut. The guard's hand hesitated. Every head at the turnstiles had turned now. The marble amplified every breath. A client she recognized from the noon tour paused with his phone in his hand, then kept going. She drew the line in her chest, then moved it to her feet. "He's coming with me," she said. "Now. You can note it and call me later." "You don't have that authority," the property manager said. He pressed the tablet screen like a button could save him. Then your badge is suspended until we review, the property manager said. Her stomach tightened. The guard stepped around the desk and reached for the side door control. The property manager caught his wrist. No, he said to his guard. She wants to make it her call. She can leave the desk. She took the older man by the elbow anyway and guided him around the desk. The guard held the side door open despite his boss's face. A small Mercy slid across the tile with the screen. As she passed, her badge tapped the reader out of habit. The reader blinked red. No access. She felt the heat in her cheeks and kept walking. She set the tote and the remains of his bag on the small back table. The cinder block wall back there always smelled like dust and old coffee. She moved the folding screen so the open side faced the hall. We're here, she said to the older man. We'll repack and you can go start. Behind the desk, the property manager was already typing an email with a hard jaw. Her boss was 3 floors up and would see a copy before noon. She shook that thought like water off her fingers. His hands shook so hard he couldn't get the zipper to close on the thermos sack. She did it for him. She put the pads at the bottom of the tote, tucked under his spare shirt. She folded the torn bag as flat as she could and slid it in last so he wouldn't be empty-handed. Sorry, he said, voice dry. Sorry. He kept his eyes on the table. Wasn't trying. You don't have to defend your lunch, she said. She set a paper cup of tea in front of him. He stared at the steam. He didn't pick it up. He nodded like the movement had rust. She found a clean polo from the box of extra uniforms in the service closet. She set it beside him. You can change if you want, she said. Soup's on your sleeve. He looked down. Oh, he said. He rubbed at the stain with his thumb, like maybe friction could erase the morning. She stood guard on the open side of the screen while he changed, her eyes on the pulse of building life, carts rolling, muffled announcements, the hum of the air. When he slid back into view, his shoulders seemed set a little higher with the dry shirt. You're on 28 today, she said. Carpet pulls. The supervisor will have you start late. I'll call her. No trouble, he said quickly. I don't want trouble. You don't have to carry that, she said. She didn't touch his arm this time. She just slid the tote toward him. A folded letter peeked from the torn bag, Guardianship Review. She didn't read more than the header. There was a bus route map under it, lines traced in black pen, circles around transfer points, a Polaroid of a young man with a helmet bent at the corner, a grin too open for the office air. A pill sorter the size of a hand had 3 days filled. She tucked everything back without comment and nudged the tote to him again. He swallowed, then lifted the tea with both hands like it was heavier than it was. He took a small sip and made the face people make when 2 hot hits too fast, then took another anyway. Thanks, he said, nodding once, then once again, not looking up. Go when you're ready, she said, and stepped out to face the day she had bent. Her boss met her at the front desk with a look that had numbers in it. In my office, the boss said, now. She followed, feeling each step with the awareness of a suspended badge. They talked. It was short. A write-up. HR at noon. Loss of guest pass privileges for a week. Partner tour reassigned to someone else with a harder smile. She listened and said understood because it was a word that moved meetings along. Her ears rang with the sound of the lunch bag hitting the marble and split open. She went back to the desk. The guard kept his eyes on the doors. The property manager had retreated behind his tablet. No one said a thing. She pulled out a new tote from the lower drawer and put it there for next time. At 10, she watched the older man push his cart into the elevator, with his shoulders set the way people set falls into climbs. He didn't look over. He didn't need to. He held the tote close as the doors closed. A week later, a grey privacy screen appeared behind the security desk. A small high table showed up too, tucked against the side wall with a sign printed in bad font, secondary screening. The screen wasn't much. It had a little hinge squeak. It made a space. The guard started using it. He lowered his voice. He still took his job serious. He still glanced at the schedule on his tablet like it was a race. He also said, sir and ma'am, and step around, please, instead of pointing. The property manager didn't smile. He didn't say her badge was back. It buzzed green again on Monday without a note. The older man started coming 5 minutes earlier. He wore the spare canvas tote like it had always been his. He nodded at her once in the morning and again at lunch. A rhythm. One of the partners held a door for a cleaner pushing a cart. No one made a big deal. It looked like nothing and took 0 seconds and lived long in the hallway. On Friday, she tucked a small box of bungee cords into her drawer. She handed one to a courier who had a stack of packages taller than his chin. "For your dolly," she said. He looked surprised, then grateful, then efficient. On a wet morning later that month, the guard caught a new hire trying to do a pat-down in the open and said, "Use the back. We don't put folks out like that." He didn't look over to see if she heard. He just moved the screen and kept talking about procedure like it had always been this way. She stayed at the desk and did the job with hands that had warmed a stranger's soup on a cold day. She sorted mail and clicked boxes and told a visitor where to find the good coffee, not the burnt one. She left the tote drawer open a little. The new screen moved in the AC, sending a soft ripple across the tile. She watched it while the building filled with shoes and voices. In the reflection of the glass wall, she saw her face plain, without the heat of a fight. She thought about the quiet after a door closes. The weight of a tote in a stranger's hands that felt like less weight anyway. She let her shoulders drop one notch. Outside, the light slid across the lobby floor and caught on the edge of the screen, a steady silver line that held.